Hey everybody, this is Tracy here for another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap 911 on Fox, which was season 1, and this was the season finale. I can't believe that the show is over already, but it has been picked up for season 2, so we'll get more of the crazy come next season. And it ended, well, I'm just going to go through the show and then I'll give you guys my thoughts on the ending. So the show opens and it's Patricia's funeral, and you guys know I haven't recapped the show the last 2 episodes, and basically as far as the characters go, I think the episode number 8, I think the big thing was Athena. I can't believe I forgot her name. So the big thing on episode 8 was Athena has had enough of Michael and living this lie and thinking that it's okay, for him to be in this gay relationship and still be her husband. So she finally came to her senses, and I think what really put the nail in the coffin was the fact that he had the unmitigated gall, the audacity to start wanting to bring his man lover around her and the kids. And I'm thinking, are you crazy? Like, you got tortured this woman enough. She trying to put up this front, which was crazy from the beginning with, and now you want to be inviting the man over to the house. Like, Negro, if you don't go somewhere and sit down. So I was like, thank you, Jesus, that she finally came to her senses and told him, hell to the no, no, no. And as a matter of fact, before I start to hate you, let me go ahead and give you the number to my divorce attorney because I'm over this, and you got to go. So I was like, thank you, Lord. And then I think on last week's episode, we found out that she had a new boo, some man she done met and then got her swerve on, I guess on a one night stand. So she was feeling him. And then they end up in a situation where she goes to his house and he wants to role play and wants her to play the cop, and he's the criminal. And so they mess around and get handcuffed to the bed, but the key was in the, well, actually she handcuffed him, and her, the police officer belt where they have the key, the gun, the mace, and the taser, and all that was across the room. And then he fooling around, they kissing and carrying on. The next day, he done put the other handcuff on her hand. And so now they stuck and trying to figure out how they gonna get out this situation. And she ends up calling Henrietta. Well, she called Abby, at the 911 center, and had Abby call Henrietta to tell Henrietta where to come. And the guy was like, well, I got a friend that can come. And she's like, ain't nobody gonna see me in this situation. Henrietta's the only person I can trust. And so Henrietta came over, making fun of them, taking selfies and stuff. So at the end of the day, I think she told that guy that she wasn't ready to like be in a real relationship, and she didn't want to be unfair to him. And what else happened? Oh, and then Patricia, that's what I was getting to. Patricia died at the end of last episode. I was like, oh, that is so sad. But it was sad on one case, but then it wasn't sad on the sense that they had the woman living in the dining room. Like, I would have wanted Patricia to live on if she actually had her own bedroom or she was in a nursing home. But just having her in that dining room was really, really starting to bother me. So the show picks up on this episode, where it's her funeral. And Buck is there with Abby, and then, he's being a real support system, and he comes back to the house and he's helping her, pack up all of Patricia's things, and they have the people coming in, moving the bed and all the other medical equipment out. And then Buck found a box, and I guess she had like these boxes all over the house, kind of like I do. I don't know if that's a trend, but I save everything. I save Christmas cards, birthday cards, newspaper clippings. I save everything. So my kids gonna have a whole bunch of stuff to go over. I have journals back from when I was like 14 years old. They read my whole life story. But he finds a box, and Abby doesn't seem to be like really into, how excited he is about finding all this stuff. And so, what was in that box that I think it was a newspaper article, and then he went to her and was talking about the newspaper article, and just a lot of the stuff that he thought was neat. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that he's being supportive of Abby, but I still don't like them together. I don't know. I don't have a problem with the whole cougar situation. I'm just saying the two of the characters, the actors, do not look good together. And it's just more like Buck looked like he's Abby's son, and Abby looked like she would have a son Buck's age, and it's not working for me. So let's move on to the first call. So the first call was a domestic violence situation. And so they get there, and the husband's beating on the door, and they arrest the husband, and then they tell the wife to come out. And so she comes out, and she has like this British accent, and she's talking about the husband and how crazy he acted. But the husband is saying, something's wrong with my wife. I'm telling you, something's wrong with my wife. And so the lady has the hiccups. And so she's telling Athena, I woke up with this migraine headache, and now I got the hiccups, and the hiccups won't go away, and I don't know what's going on. So then they go downstairs to talk to the husband, say that, she doesn't want to press charges against you. And the guy's like, I'm telling you, I was not beating her up. Like, something is wrong with my wife. He said, like, for example, she's not from England. She's from Brooklyn or the Bronx. No, from Brooklyn. She's from Brooklyn. She's never been to England. Why is she talking like that? And the lady was like, I've talked like this all my life. And then he was like, no, you have not. You're from Brooklyn. And then Athena gets to thinking. She said, okay, wait a minute. She said she had a migraine headache. She suffered chest pains. The hiccups won't go away. And now she has this voice thing going on. She may be having a stroke or has had a stroke. So they end up taking the lady to the hospital, and that is what her problem is. And that is actually a real thing. Back over at Abby's house, her brother is now there, and Buck comes in, and he done found another box. And so then he runs and said he was going in the bathroom, when he found it in the bathroom in the closet. So the brother's like, well, does he live here? And Abby's like, no, he doesn't. And then Carla was there, and she says, believe me, he does not live here. He's just been here, helping me through this moment. And I promise you that, we're just dating. It's nothing serious or anything. But the brother was laughing. Then Carla and Abby were together after the brother left, and they were going through some more of the stuff, and they came across some earrings. And so Abby decides to give Carla the earrings that belonged to Patricia, and said that, she wanted her to have something to remember her by. And then also in the box was a passport. And so Abby was telling Carla about how Patricia, got the passport, and she was going to travel the world, but the only place she thinks she ever went was to Mexico, and that was for the vow renewal for her brother and the brother's wife. And she was saying how she always wanted to go to Ireland, but she never made it there. So over at the fire station, Bobby is in the men's room, and he's taking selfies of himself. And so it turns out that he has set up a dating profile on a website called romancingtheuniform.com. Now, I don't know if that's a real website or not, but it looked a little cheesy, sort of like that farmersonly.com website. So Henrietta and Chimney come in, and they figure out what he's doing, so they start joking with him and riding him, and telling him that he's outdated and they need to help him because he's so out of touch touch with reality. And then they were looking at the profile and they said, oh my God, like your profile says old man because you have an AOL email account. So I guess those are outdated. I think my mom has an AOL email account. But then the subject turns to Buck and how he has found love and is a changed man because he walked in while they were all joking, with them. And so, he's maturing. He really likes Abby, like he is in it for the long haul. But all of a sudden, a woman comes into the fire station and confronts Buck, saying that they have been talking online, that all of a sudden he got ghost and she heard nothing from him, and that, he shouldn't be playing around with people's emotions like that. Then all of a sudden she slapped the crap out of him, but Buck swears that he doesn't know who the woman is, and he hasn't been online since him and Abby started dating, and he doesn't know what's going on. Then we head over to Athena's house. So the kids are getting ready to go spend time with Michael and his little lover man, and it's a bit awkward. And so, Athena was basically saying that, she wasn't ready for this moment, but she knows that, she has to give it a chance and that the kids have a right, blah, blah, blah. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, Hollywood, no, they are pushing this, this bisexual, homosexual, accept that your man sleeping with other men and be happy about it and be okay about it. And, they pushing the agenda really, really hard. So please tell me why Henrietta has decided to share all her personal business with her coworkers. So it was one thing for her to tell Athena, that she cheated on Karen and that Karen left. And I think that happened in one of the episodes I didn't cover. She went home one night and the locks had been changed on the door. So Karen, was kind of done with her. And then there was a scene, I think last week, where was the ex named Eva? I think Eva was going to sue her for custody. And so the two of them met up and, they had talked things out and everything. And she told her that she really loved Karen and wanted to be with Karen. So she done told Chimney and Buck and Bobby, all them, that she done slept with the ex-girlfriend and Karen then left her and all this stuff. And I'm like, girl, that's a no-no. Don't tell your coworkers all your business. So they go on a call that is supposed to be a DOA, that the guy was already dead when they got there. But the guy is like in his mind talking to them because he ain't really dead, and they put him in the body bag. And so he was getting a reading from a psychic. So they go over to talk to the psychic, and the psychic said, I just don't understand what happened, because according to the tarot cards, he has a long life ahead of him. So I don't understand how the man just dropped dead all of a sudden. So they get to the medical examiner's office, and so then we go over to the coroner's office, and they're getting ready to do an autopsy on the man. So of course the man is still talking like, don't cut me, I'm alive, oh my God, like, hear me. So he's yelling in his mind that he's yelling, but they ain't coming out of his mouth. So the guy had it was like a drill with a little round saw on it, and I guess that's what they cut you open with. So he was getting ready to cut him, when all of a sudden his hand flew up the supposedly dead man. His name was Lionel. So Lionel's hand flew up, hit the medical examiner, then he sat up. The medical examiner fell backwards, he fainted, and dropped the tool that he was getting ready to cut the man with. But the thing hit the ground, and then it was continuing to move, and it moved over and cut the medical examiner. So I was like, oh my God. So, the guy calls 911, they get there, and he basically explains to them that he has a disease. He has narcolepsy, prolepsy. It was like narcolepsy and then some other word that began with a P, where basically it appears that you're dead. And I don't know if you guys remember the show Martin with the plumber. And remember, they thought the plumber was dead, and they had the whole funeral and everything in the apartment with the plumber. And then the plumber woke up and told him, that's what he had. So they told the guy, why don't you get a medical alert bracelet? Because he said that was the third time that he had been declared dead. And so they were like, well, why don't you get a medical bracelet that says, that you have this disease, because you're going to mess around here and not wake up, and you're going to be dead for real. And so I think he gets a thrill out of seeing if he's able to come back, because he says that every time he comes back, he just has like a new lease on life. And I'm just thinking it's just a high to see, you know, or he likes how he scares people when he comes to, but he gonna mess around and he ain't gonna wake up one of these times unless like the brain can really, like him screaming and yelling really shocks the brain and makes him wake up in enough time. But child, that was crazy. So later on that night, Henrietta, who then had a rough day, dealing with the man that thought he was dead and wasn't dead. Oh, and when she was, when they were at the psychic reader's house, she offered to give Henrietta a reading, but Henrietta turned it down. So we have a scene, it's late at night, Karen is at the grocery store, and Henrietta is stalking her in the parking lot. And so she's begging Karen to give her another try. Karen is like, no, I'm not doing it. You hurt me. I really love you. I know you love me, but I'm not going to be living my life like this. I got to be able to trust you, and this is crazy. How did you know I was going to be here? And so she was like, well, I know you go to the grocery store every Friday night at 10 p.m. or something like that. I was like, So Karen got in the car and she rolled on out, leaving Henrietta standing there in the parking lot. And it might have been raining. I know it was nighttime. So we move over to Buck and Abby, and so they're having lunch when another woman comes in and starts cussing him out again, saying that, she had ditched him, that they had been talking online for like 3 months, and all of a sudden he stopped talking to her, and she wouldn't know what was going on. And then she picked up the glass and threw the water in his face and tells Abby, you should be grateful that I confronted him, because now you know what a creep he is. And then Abby got up and walked out, and Buck was like, I don't know who this woman is. I don't know what's going on. This is the second woman to confront me. And Abby was like, the second woman? Like, what in the world? But, he was like, I'm a changed man. I'm a changed man. But Abby wasn't hearing it. So then Buck goes and he confronts Chimney, thinking that Chimney is like catfishing him, or you know how they do the catfish where you steal somebody's profile picture. But Chimney says that it's not him, but he found a MySpace page using Buck's picture. So he's been investigating, trying to figure out what's going on. So he told Buck that they can find where the person lives through their IP address. So they investigate and figure out where the guy is. So they go to this trailer, and it was like one of them old silver trailers. And so there was like all these maggots and bugs all on the glass. And they was like, what the hell going on? So they get inside, and the man was dead. And I think the man weighed like 350 pounds. But he was all bloated, and it was just so disgusting. And they said he had been in there for like 10 days or something. Or they figured it had been 10 days, because that's how long it had been since he stopped communicating with the women. So, child, the people show up, the medical examiner and the coroner, they all show up, and people gathering around outside the trailer. And so the guy was saying that they couldn't get the body out of the trailer because it was so bloated, so they may have to tow the trailer to the coroner's office and then get the guy out some kind of way, or either they could cut an opening into the trailer. So Buck decided that would be inhumane, and that there had to be another way. So that the coroner said, well, the only other thing we can do is to embalm him here and like get all the whatever it was, the chemical fluid that then built up in the body, drain it all out. So then Buck said, well, let's do that. And then the guy was like, that would take hours. It would take like a really long time, and it would be easier to just take the body to the medical examiner. So then Buck picks up a knife or scalpel or something and stabs the guy, thinking that I guess he was just going to deflate, like the stuff was just going to shoot out and he was going to deflate. But that didn't happen. It was like all this gook started coming out the guy, but then it just stopped. And then the coroner was like, let me do my job. Like, I knew that wasn't going to work. So they ended up having to, get the stuff out of the guy, pump it out of the guy while they were there. And I guess it was just like really stink, and it was a whole lot of it. And even though I couldn't smell it, I felt like I could smell it just watching it on television. So that scene went on, and they finally got the guy deflated enough to get him off the trailer. So afterwards, Buck goes to see Abby, to explain what happened and that he was the victim, of a catfish when he sees that her bags are packed. And so she lets him know that, she's decided to go to Dublin, Ireland for a few months because that was where Patricia always wanted to go. And she lets him know that it wasn't about him, that it really was about her, because taking care of her mom, she had really lost herself and lost her identity. And I can really relate to that because y'all know my daughter has autism, and you do lose yourself. You don't get to do all the things that you really want to do in life because you don't really have that support system. And even if you did, you just feel so guilty that you're leaving them, and especially if you go for a long time. And so she was saying that she used to be a swimmer, and she used to travel around the world, and now all of that is gone. So she just really needs to restore herself because she's given so much to Patricia, so much to her job. Now she's giving, what little she had left to this relationship with Buck. And so she just needs to get away, forget about everything, rejuvenate, revive herself, and then she can come back and, I guess, pick up where they left off and be better at her job. But she's just really, really tired right now. So Buck says that he understands and wishes her the best. And I'm thinking to myself, it ain't going to be too long for Buck be at the horn again and sleeping with the women that they rescue. And quite frankly, I hope he does, because like I said at the beginning of the video, I really don't like this setup at all. So in the next call, we have a guy, and he's obviously having a midlife crisis, and he's at a motorcycle shop, and, he's acting like an older man, like a kid in a toy store, but, he's an older man looking at motorcycles. And he was telling the guy that his wife was totally against it and told him he was going to kill himself, and he better not come home with a motorcycle. But he had a son named Ethan, and I don't know if he ever said how old Ethan was, but Ethan was encouraging him, Dad, get the motorcycle, it'll be so good. And so the guy, it was a young guy that was the salesperson, he was looking at him like, this happens all the time, like men going through midlife crises. And, he was letting them get on the bikes and talking and everything. So then the guy turns around and he sees this hat and bomber jacket. And then he was like, oh, I got to do it. So he gets the jacket and the hat and the motorcycle, and he's out riding, and he comes on the side of this blonde-haired, beautiful woman. And so he flirting and carrying on and trying to show off for her, and got into an accident and was cut in half. Like, I was like, oh my God. And so he was cut in half, but he was still alive. And he was talking, and so then when Bobby and them arrived, they were like, how is he still talking? And then they were saying that, it was the shock of it, and then because he had the helmet on, he didn't suffer like brain damage, so the brain doesn't know that it's dead yet, that the body is dead, and that they can't save him. And then the phone rings, and it was his son, Ethan, because he was telling them, my son's waiting for me. He's sitting on the porch, and I wanted to ride up on the motorcycle. He's going to be so excited. So he answers the phone, and he's talking to his son, and he's telling them, he got the bike. He'll be home shortly. He loves him. And oh my God, I'm just thinking the man talking, but the man don't know he dead. And I was like, oh my God. So, after he tells the son that he loves him and everything, they hand the phone off to one of the police officers, and she's asking the little boy, like, Ethan, is your mom there? I need to talk to her. So she walks away, and then Bobby is just overcome with emotion, and then he walks off and goes sit on the curb, and Athena comes over to talk to him and be like, we all have days like this, but, as first responders, we got to hold it in and get through the day, as horrific as it is, and then when we get home, we can release and cry about it. So then Bobby asked her if she would go somewhere with him. So they end up going to the church where he's always at, and they start talking about church and the differences between like a Black Baptist church and the Catholic church. And Athena was saying, well, we just go to church on Sunday. We'll be coming back to the church praying and carrying on. And he said that he goes to that church like 4 or 5 times a week, and the church doors are always open, and you can go in and pray and everything. And y'all know I have to tell y'all a story. Actually, I have 2 stories to tell y'all. So one, my best friend Tamala, her boyfriend David, was actually in a situation. I can't remember the details of the situation, but I know a train was involved. And the train, some people were chasing him, and they got hit by a train. And the train cut one of the guys in half. And he was saying, like, basically that same thing. Like, the guy was sitting there, like he was still alive, but his body was cut in half, and that it took him, a little while to, for the brain to register that it was dead. So that has happened before. And then the second thing was, I used to work at a church, and I think I told y'all about working at the church before. And there was this lady that used to come into the church that wanted to pray all the time. But the thing was, my office was the prayer room during the week. During the week, it was the prayer room. So I would have to leave out of my office for this lady to go into the prayer room to pray. And she would do it every day. And I worked only 4 hours a day. So why she couldn't come in there and pray like when I got off at 1 o'clock? But she would come in there. She would get on my computer and turn to like a gospel station and be playing gospel all loud. Then she get in there singing, and it was just a mess. But so what she was saying about the black churches are not set up for people to be coming in during the week to pray. So that's all I was going to share about that. So the show wraps up, and it really wasn't a good finale, I didn't think, because the show ends with Bobby at the fire station, and he has on a suit, and he's all dressed up, getting ready to go on a date. And he goes to a restaurant, and he's sitting at the restaurant, and then he stands up because he sees his date coming. And I guess they wanted us to think that it was somebody he had met on the dating site. But I think everybody who was watching knew that it was going to be Athena. And so Athena rolled up in there in all her beauty and all her glory. And I'm not here for Bobby and Athena either. Who is doing this matchmaking on this show? I don't know. So then we go over to Chimney, and Chimney is having a party. And he has a lot of people there, but there's one girl there in particular that I think was one of the girls that showed out on Buck. That was from the website that was catfishing Buck. That's who she looked like to me, but they seem to be getting along and hitting it off okay. And then the show ended with Buck taking Abby to the airport, and and they're saying goodbye, and he basically tells Abby, that he respects her for what she's doing and to take her time, and he's gonna be right there waiting until she come back. And I'm like, Lord, please don't let him be there waiting. But anyway, guys, that was it. That was the season finale. 911 on Fox. It was a bit predictable, but overall, I love the show. And I'm looking forward to season 2. So guys, let me know what you thought about the finale, what you thought about the season. Leave your comments below, rate the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.